How intense is this kids movie gotta be? Alright, Neverending Story, 1984. Open on breakfast. Dad with his kid. The dad is consuming a blended raw egg and orange juice, but never mind all that. He's busy reminding his kid about the dead mom that he'll never see again. And and chastising him for not showing up at school. But, not really. I guess that was a more gentle conversation. Usually in 80s movies and 90s movies, they're trying to set up the parents as bad guys really early because they're trying to connect with kids, and kids are always frustrated. It doesn't matter. Anyway, moving on. And then that kid goes to school. On the way, he gets bullied and thrown into a trash can. And running away from his bullies, he gets a book. That's great. That's the first good news that's happened so far, is when he commits a crime and steals a book. That's the best thing that's happened. So he starts reading this book. What's the first thing that happens in the book? Well, we get a bunch of interesting characters hanging out, talking about how their families are dead and their lands have been destroyed, and the horrible emptiness, which is, by the way, I get why it's so hard to portray in this film, and they just do kind of like a storm and wind and whatever. I mean, I couldn't think of anything better because that's challenging, but what a terrifying villain, right? The bad guy in the movie, the horrific force that's destroying everything, isn't really it's just an absence. It's just an emptiness. It's the nothing. What a scary friggin' thing, man. I'm remembering after watching this again as an adult why it freaked me out so much as a kid. Just a lot of death education in this film. A lot of facing your own mortality at a very young age. Trying to wrap your head around the concept of nothingness, of all of your hopes and dreams just not existing. Anyway, continuing on. They go to the Empress who can help them all, but oh no, she's sick, she's dying, probably because everything else is dying. So they get this great hero to help them. Oh, it's just a little kid, boo-hoo. I wish we had someone actually competent to save us. Alright, send the little kid off on an adventure. First thing that happens to him, his horse dies, who we've only known for, I don't know, a minute at this point, but the amount of begging and screaming and crying this kid does to try and save his horse from drowning in a swamp is so intense that, man, that's not, like, watching it again, that it reminded me that, like, this is very serious stuff. And I watched this the first time as a kid. I was surprised watching as an adult that there wasn't more time with Atreyu and Artax on screen. Because I remember being so hit with the death of this horse. And then when it happened again in the movie, and I'm watching, I'm like, wow, that we've only known this horse for a minute. Why was I so emotionally attached to it? And I'm watching Atreyu scream and cry about how it's his friend and he loves him. I'm like, okay, that's it. That's why. So, okay, Atreyu's on his own now. Everything's being destroyed and killed, just non-stop horror show since this movie began. He finds the thing that he was looking for, giant turtle with the ultimate wisdom, and what does the turtle say? Give up. It doesn't matter. I don't care about you. I don't care about your problems. I don't even really care about dying. Actually, I'm kind of curious about what that would be like. None of this matters. Go away. It's like, oh shit, okay, his horse died for this, but sure. Alright, so yeah, there's someone else down south you can ask. Well, they're on the other side of the world. Good luck, kids. See ya. Miraculously gets there. Yay for Atreyu. And what does he find? A death gate that just kills you when you try to cross it. And a lot of, I've listened to other podcasts about this movie and other reviews. A lot of people talk about Gmork, the wolf monster, as scaring them when they were kids. These Sphinx statues scared me the most because they were so inevitable. They just looked at you and you died and you couldn't prepare for it. They show a knight in armor all shiny riding up and just getting vaporized. You couldn't do anything about it. The only way you could get past them is by having unshakable confidence in your own self-worth and the value of your mission, which is, it's not something you can just make happen. Which, I don't know, maybe that's just something about me, that my greatest fear is having to prove my own sense of self-worth, but that scared the shit out of me as a kid. Anyway, gets past that gate, gets to the oracle that actually cares and can answer his question, and finds statues that are crumbling away to nothingness, saying, actually, you need to find a human that doesn't exist in our world. So, basically, you're fucked, right? Moving on, his world is getting torn apart. Eventually does get torn apart. A few shreds of land floating through an endless void. He goes to talk to the Empress, and she's like, oh yeah, I knew all that was going to happen. I needed you to suffer. I needed you to go through this hell story, and I needed to go through this typical hero's adventure where you're faced with plenty of adversity to get a kid's attention so that kid can rename me and save all of existence. You know, it's a very calculating move for the leader of an entire world, but man, what a hit right at the end, huh? Like, yeah, no, I know, I get it. And I love how in the movie, and I can't remember if he has this line specifically in the book, but I love how in the movie he's like, my horse died. It's like, Atreyu is like fully conscious and aware. He's not like, oh, okay, I get it. We all do what we have to do to save the universe. He's like, this sucked. This was terrible. I got hurt badly. My best friend was killed, and it was just so I could show up here and you could tell me that you already knew all of this was going to happen. I love how upset he is by how upsetting his situation is. He definitely should be. I didn't realize that the author grew up in Germany when the Nazis were coming to power, and his father was an artist. And so he had very much first-hand experience of his family unit suffering through a tyrannical regime, taking over, becoming the dominant force, the dominant cultural and political force in his home country that was very, very much against free expression and against art and creativity. And so that makes a ton of sense when you go back and watch this movie or read this book, and you should definitely read the book. It's better than the movie, but the Gmork is talking about why he would be a servant of the nothing or the forces that created the nothing, and he explains what it is. He's like, it's a kind of despair. It's the absence of hopes and dreams. That's what nothing is. And Atreyu's like, well, all right, why would you be the servant of something like that? Why would anyone want that to exist? And Gmork tells him, well, if people don't have any dreams, they're easier to control, which is pretty intense for what's ostensibly a kid's movie. Like, never mind that it's just been a rampage of death and destruction since the very beginning. But the heavy message is, why would anyone want to unleash all these horrible things? It's because, they want to be able to control what's left. Anyway, in the end, everything's good. Bastian realizes that he's reading a book and that it's real anyway because he has a window into his own imagination. But and apparently the author absolutely hated the movie, which that kind of notoriously, kind of embarrassingly goofy scene at the very end when Bastian is riding Falcor through the streets chasing those bullies. I mean, I get it because they created this whole film based on a book that's trying to deliver a very specific message, and the takeaway that you get at the end of the film is, okay, so if you're being bullied, get more powerful so that you can bully them back harder, which doesn't really seem true to the message of the rest of it, but what are you going to do? Hollywood has to stick their dirty little hands in them, don't they? But the entire story is incessant death, destruction, and the absolutely horrific mental state that this entire tortured land is going through when all the citizens realize there's nothing they can do to save themselves. Oh my god. Who made this for kids? Oh my god, the Rockbiter just looking at his hands. He's like, these look like strong hands, don't they? Well, they weren't strong enough to save my friends. The nothing is coming. I'm just going to sit here and let it take me. I don't want to live anymore because my friends were ripped out of my grasp and destroyed, and I couldn't save them. So I'd just rather be consigned to oblivion. Holy shit! Like, how intense is this kids movie got to be?